like we see him sometimes. I mean, other times he's like really
bad. What can I say? Marty here is blowing smoke in my face. We're a team, or so we think we're a team, right, Marty?
right.
Marty Warhola of the Warhol fame. Oh, by the way, did I tell you my name? I'm Bill Mogush, and my friend here is he's trying to achieve some publicity. Marty Warhola.
My name's Marty Warhola, and collaborative friend of Bill Mogush, and manage my father's business down on the north side, Paul Warhola Scrap Metals. I've been, like as Bill said, we've been collaborating on art for a couple years now, but I've always been dabbling in art for the many years that I was around, I suppose you could say. My uncle greatly influenced me a lot in that, and when I was a child, maybe 2, 3, 4 years old, we used to visit my uncle up in New York, and I used to be impressed with all these paintings in his townhouse, and I'd ask my parents, what's going on here? What's Uncle Andy do? They'd say, he's a famous artist. So he did have a great deal of influence on me as an artist. And me and Bill and myself, I use a lot of his methods, silkscreen methods, and like to paint into the paintings a bit. And we do many interesting things like burn a lot of our artwork, and we do sculpture.
The artwork that you see behind us is something that Marty Warhol and I produced for a benefit for City Theater. Marty, the other day you called me on a phone in the morning. You woke me up very late. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And you were real excited because a motorcycle came into the scrapyard.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know why you were so excited. Now I can see what we did with it. Well, what is it about motorcycles and bikes that really excite you? And why is it here?
I like the motorcycle, like I said, because it came into the scrapyard. I had bought it for scrap, and then I called you up because I was excited. I thought we could have used it in our artwork, and even maybe in the Beller with the crush buggy, with another series, maybe a motorcycle buggy series. Motorcycle buggy, no, not that. But anyway, I thought we could use it, and I like the idea of painting it silver because it kind of relates a little bit to when my uncle had his whole studio, his whole art studio. What was his?
The factory.
The factory.
And didn't he also have silver wigs?
Yes, he did, but I don't know if it,
or white wigs.
Right, white wigs. But anyway, the whole factory was done in silver, and I thought having the silver bike against the backdrop that we did would fit in real nice.
Yeah.
And that was the day we also got a couple tin bathtubs in the scrapyard, and I think we could fit those into our bathtub series that we're going to work on.
Well, I always liked the motorcycle, and then when we put it up here, the idea of it looking like it's almost taking out of the mural. The hands, as you could see, are right behind you, as a matter of fact. And at certain angles, it looks like the hands are reaching for the motorcycle, and we have it up at the angle, at a more dramatic angle, to look like it's going right out to the viewer. So the action of this mural proceeds, you might say, from this side, comes over and then shoots out.
And someone might say, well, how can it go anywhere? There's no engine in it, which is very interesting, and the wires are hanging out. Well, it was going somewhere the night that we got it because we were pushing each other up and down the sidewalk, weren't we, Bill?
Yeah,
trying to get the feel for the motorcycle.
Right. But this is also part of the things that we try to do. Likewise, it's related to the crushed cart. You take things that you normally would see, but you put them in a different context. You don't normally see when you go out a motorcycle midair.
Right.
So it's all made to make you think about the familiar and from a new angle.
Bill, why did we do this backdrop?
Well, City Theater had contacted us, and they had a benefit for their new place in the old Duquesne Brewery, and they needed something pretty splashy, something that would focus attention on the groups. The musical groups were going to be in front of it. So what I did in the scrapyard itself, we erected a huge easel, 18 by 10 feet, and this was the first project on it. And we took this backdrop paper, and I unrolled it, and I tried to make something very large and splashy and colorful. Something so that when the people come in, it has kind of a happy, joyous feeling about it.
Also,
so the way I worked on it was I used large brushes and even rollers. Yeah.
Also, I think the colors will fit in when we burn this work at a later date. Here is called the Crushed Buggy series, and we did that in the scrapyard about 2 weeks ago, and we wanted to show the buggies as something that holds a commodity. Mm-hmm. And what we did was we put these shopping carts into my baler down at the scrapyard. It's a pressed, expensive piece of machinery that is used to bale aluminum scrap, and we like to use it to make some of our artwork. We put about 4 or 5 carts in there, Bill?
There's 4 carts which we used, and we made several more in different configurations. We intend to do a whole series of crushed objects, possibly bicycles, things that have meaning to people. So you take the things that you ordinarily see and you distort them and give it a whole new meaning. As an adjunct to the three-dimensional crushed cart series, we juxtaposed it or contrasted it with the two-dimensional silkscreen painting. In this case, it's a cart which we photographed in the scrap yard with some scrap in. In this case, we put Andy Warhol in. We call it Andy in a cart. Sounds a bit odd, but that's how we always refer to it. Now, what you see in here, you see a front page of the USA Today dated February 23rd, 1987, the day that Andy Warhol died. And the reason why we did this is we feel that a lot of art today is treated merely as a commodity. And even Andy Warhol's art after his death really shot up in value. And it seems that a lot of people were more concerned with the value, the rising value of the art, and maybe not as much with the content. The same would be true of Van Gogh, where you had some of the irises and other paintings shoot up to 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. It seemed that most of the talk was about the price. What you have is some people will buy a piece of work not because of the aesthetic value or the content, but because they think it might go up in value. For example, it's a well-known fact that in New York, there's a lot of gallery owners that will alert their clients if a new artist comes upon the scene. If they think he has potential, they'll say, "Hey, you better buy up some of his work. It may go up in value."
And our point is, they don't. A lot of them don't give a hoot about how the artist put his feeling, what he was thinking about when he did the work. All they want to think about is how much it goes up to.
So what you have is you have a new artist that comes upon the scene, and he's sold like a new stock, like the new stock of a company, and hoping that it'll go up in value. We wanted to make a comment on, frankly, the things that interest a lot of people, gossip. And when they check out at the supermarket, they see all these tabloids, and they're interested in it. Not that they should be, but they just are. So we just wanted to take some of the images, juxtapose it, maybe even inject a little humor. If you were able to see on that one, we have mom pregnant for 22 months, and then we have a picture of a beautiful girl in a bikini. And at first glance, one might think that, how can she be pregnant for 22 months? But it's really, it's just the issue cut apart. And in every issue, of course, the reason why we use that is they always have a beautiful girl. So we wanted to give the idea of a typical tabloid. Another part says space alien found on Mount Everest. And another one is the relationship between the Kennedy brothers and Marilyn Monroe, which is always current. There's always a story coming out of them.
But the stories are so ridiculous. We're trying to make a joke out of it because a lot of housewives at the grocery stores and people buy them just to read them, and a lot of them people believe with the stories that are in there. Mm-hmm. But even I buy them once in a while because I find them, kind of funny.
I guess people want to get out of the humdrum of their life, and they want to. They just want to. It's like a window looking into some other person's life, some other celebrity, and they find that what's the word? Titillating.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. You know.
Yeah, right. One reason why we have the large easel in here, we want to bring it more to the public. Working in a studio, you're kind of isolated, and by working out of here, you're in the midst of all the activity which is happening. A forklift will come by, scrap will come by, and also people on the street can come in. And we want to introduce the average person on the street to painting. Most people say they're not an artist or they can't paint, but we get them in here, we give them a brush, and we tell them to go to it, and we often paint along with them, and they enjoy it. So that's one of the things that we're doing. We're bringing art to the people. Now, we're also want to make art a part of life. For example, if Marty's in here weighing someone up, he might say, "Excuse me, I have to do a little painting." So he'll go down over here and paint for a while. Maybe I'll paint with him. And he'll go back, he'll take care of the customers and excuse himself again, come back and do a little more painting. And then it makes an interesting way of working. What do you think, Marty?
When you said bring the art to the people, that sounds a little Marxist, doesn't it?
Not really. We are bringing it to the people. There's no Marxism at all, no Marxist philosophy at all in our painting. In fact, we hate Marxism.
Right.
I often said bring it to the streets also. Sometimes on my van I'll put the art right on and I'll take it to the streets, literally. People that are on the streets that normally don't go to galleries are forced to look at it as the truck goes by.
These are some of the bells we make with our baler down here at the scrapyard. These bells weigh approximately 1,000 pounds each. And this is the same baler, very expensive piece of machinery that we use to make some of our artwork. So that's why we're very excited to have a machine like this to do some of our artwork with. In a moment we'll show you the baler that's used to press these bells. This aluminum bell to me is a piece of artwork on its own. The way it's compacted into a nice square cube bell.
A lot of our pieces of sculptures and paintings, we wanted to have a human form there. And the mannequin relates to what people see outside in stores and so forth. It gives it that real appearance. And we'll probably be using them from time to time. If we make something very large, we'd like to even mix them in with people. So sometimes the people don't know, who is the real person, who is the mannequin. Kind of like an interplay with the elements in our art. Well, we shot a music video in February of this year, and we had our artwork in the background, and Phil Harris and his group was playing in the front. The song was Crash and Burn, and it was appropriate for what we were doing. we hadn't really planned to burn our work because of the film. We had planned to do it anyway, but then someone from KDKA found out what we were doing, and it worked in perfectly with what Phil Harris was doing with his music. So we brought it together. And the purpose of the burning of our art was to make a point, several points really. One was that we objected a lot of art today with the rising and escalating prices is viewed too much as a commodity, so we thought that would kind of shock the public if we burn our art. We're destroying the commodity, but of course we're going to photograph it first. And we want to see if the photographic portrayal of it, the idea which is embodied by the work, will exist beyond the actual commodity. In other words, will the idea survive the burning, the destruction? Another thing is at the burning, when we shot the video, we had images of the Pope on each side. We didn't burn images of the Pope. That represented the spiritual aspect of existence. The things which he's concerned with are eternal values, which do not die. But the material world, including art, will all disappear. So we only burned the material things, the art, and to try to focus people's attention on their own mortality, that all things will pass. We just happen to speed up the process, that's all. That was the basic thoughts behind the video in which we burned our work.
I met Bill one day. I was working at the scrapyard a couple years ago, and he stopped by and he started talking. He wanted to know the relationship I had with my uncle, because he was interested in my uncle, you know, which a lot of people are. But you know, he did some painting on the side, and one time I told him, you know, bring some of his work over. I'd be interested in seeing it. And from there, it was the start of a nice new friendship. It's hopefully it'll last a long time. Me and Bill get along pretty good. We complement each other. That's a nice way of putting it. Complement each other. And in the early '80s, I asked my Uncle Andy. I said I was thinking about going to Carnegie Mellon for an art career, and he told me that he thought it might be best to go for a business degree, because he said business is where it's at, you know. Management of money instead of art. So I took his advice and I got a bachelor's at Penn State. In my opinion, as long as I could, you know, if I have enough money to buy the supplies and the paint, I'd work for free and just give my work away. That's the honest truth. Pepsi Cola, about a month or so ago, they commissioned me to do three pieces of art for their corporate office. They have a nice, beautiful office in the Clark Candy building, and I'm proud to say that my paintings are on display in their office upstairs on the 6th floor. This first piece is kind of interesting because I did the piece and I finished it a few weeks ago, and after I finished it, I found out that my Uncle Andy did the same Pepsi logo. This is a Pepsi logo from the 50s. It's a bottle cap. And my uncle did that same thing back in 1962, right at the start of his career. He did a painting called Closed Cover Before Striking. It was a 6-foot painting of a matchbook cover. It had this Pepsi logo on it. And a lot of people might say, well, you know, it's copying, but it really isn't. I've done it I use the same method as my uncle in the silkscreen method, but I like to paint into them more. On this painting, I wanted to show movement, so the Pepsi caps are tumbling, and I painted a little bit in behind it so I could show some movement. I use the same style in, like I said, the silkscreen method, but I also use the repetition method that my uncle used. But I try to do it more, like I said again, in a painterly style. But these, you could see, these are two paintings of Pepsi bottles, and I did another one of Pepsi cans. I inspected the offices up at Pepsi, and I wanted these paintings to fit into the environment. And everyone was real happy with them. They thought they were great.
I've always followed the career of Andy Warhol and was interested in him. And at one point after his death, there was a newspaper article about his family and how they attended the funeral. And it was always on my mind to contact someone in the family. So in 1988, I knew that one of the family members, Marty Warhola, ran the Paul Warhola scrapyard. So I just, on a lark, I just went down to meet him. And we spoke, we discussed ideas on a number of occasions, and we decided to start doing artwork together. Marty had always been interested in art, he had always done some, and I had a studio at my place. So at the beginning of our collaboration, we were working at my firehouse. It actually was a firehouse, converted into an art studio and a home in North Versailles. And we were working there for about, I'd say about a year. And then Marty bought the studio down here in Pittsburgh. We remodeled it, and this is where we're now working. This is the front room of our studio. We call it the gallery. What you see on the floor in front of you is we call it continuous scrap. We use a method where we silkscreen on a continuous canvas. There is no end to it, just like life. Life is a process. It doesn't end. So we're trying to imitate that. And what we do is we use a process that we call fracturing the image. Instead of just repeating the same image over and over again in the total image, we break it up into sections so that it gives a sense of continuity. If you look up on a far wall, you see images of the Pope. These were the images which we used when we had the when we made the video in February. And in this case also, we printed images of the Pope on tar paper, and they were about, I'd say about 35 to 40 feet long. And as you can see off to the left is actually a black and white silkscreened image of one of the scenes from the video, in which case you see the section, the middle section where we had our artwork, and it's being burned up. If you look to the left of the images in which we were burning in a mill, you'll see another continuous canvas. This time, of course, in red, black, and white. And what we used as a subject in this one was the tabloid images which we used once before. And in this case, as I stated, on the scrap images, we fractured the image. Right beneath it is another section of a continuous canvas which I made. It's using writing. It gives the appearance of writing, but it's not really words. But just as you go along, whatever emotion or whatever feeling you have, you try to make the forms with the paint, with the brush, the way you feel. Always having your mental state, your emotional state always connected to the brush. Over to the left again is another continuous canvas. In this case, we used images of Ronald Reagan with the theme "Continue the Revolution." That was one of the themes of his presidency. We liked Ronald Reagan, and we thought that he stood for a lot of good things, some good wholesome values.
There's a question I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. There's a reason you told me sometime a few months back.
What is it, Marty?
The real reason that you wear your City of Pittsburgh uniform.
Of course, I've always been interested in art and going into an art career. But however, in my high school days, I needed a job for the summer, so I got a job on a trash hauling truck, and only for a brief period of time. And a lot of the people who put their garbage out really didn't pack it too well, but we still had to throw it into the truck. So actually, after a while, I began to enjoy it because it was more than just throwing trash in a truck. Some of the bags would break open, and bottles of ketchup, with the red ketchup, and the mustard bottles, pickle jars, the different colors, would smash against the sides of the truck, and it'd make really beautiful patterns. And actually, that was art, and it was truly inspiring. And it was right after this that I enrolled at Carnegie Mellon University into an art career.
Do you feel that it had an impact on your college? I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I can't help it. Do you feel that had an impact on your college?
Well, as a matter of fact,
we're going to do what we do best. We're going to burn some of our artwork and document it as is occurring right now with the camera. We're going to have some documentation of the burning and calling back our philosophy again, burning art because it's treated so much like a commodity. And a lot of our images are of Andy, and we're not burning Andy because we don't like him. We love Andy. I'm just trying to say that my uncle's treated so much like a commodity, and he'll have to burn too, I guess, in the artwork. Oh, burning brush.
we are intrigued with the primal forces of the universe, and we're trying to capture this in what we call simultaneous creation and destruction. For example, the way it would work is Marty and I may be painting together interactively on a large painting. At the same time, the painting would be burning and we would be creating, while at the same time the painting would be destroyed. And that parallels the basic processes of the universe. In the cosmos itself, new stars are always being born and old stars are going out. New life is being brought into being, and other people are dying. So the universe is a process of renewal and destruction. And what we often do is we try to show people this in our art by imitating the same process. Another reason why we burn is to say that everything in the material world will eventually be destroyed, including our lives. It's a way for us to confront our own mortality. Even the greatest art in the world, among them being Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, the Mona Lisa, you name it. Everything will eventually go someday. All that we're doing is speeding up the process.